Is the title a new Trump tweet or is Atrioc making it up? I'm not making it up. Fuck it, we'll talk about that. It's not even that deep. I don't know. The White House just put it out fucking today. This is 4 hours ago from the official White House account. 51st state, Venezuela. You know, probably more bullshit. Obviously, the White House account has done plenty of bullshit. Trump has done plenty of bullshit. But like even soft floating this idea is so insane. It's so insane. So insane we haven't done it already. Because it's such a good idea. Yeah, I guess Canada is the 52nd, if by his logic. Golden age. By the way, not that this is my line of thought, but isn't it kind of crazy to tell a base of voters who you've been telling, I'm going to get rid of all Venezuelans and all South Americans and all, we're going to deport everybody, and then we're going to add 31 million new Venezuelans into America? Isn't that like an insane line of thought? I don't know if anyone voting for this is even thinking that through before jumping on support, but doesn't make any fucking sense? He wants the oil. Do you think you need to have Venezuela be the 51st state in order to get the oil? Do you think America's never gotten oil from a place that wasn't a state before? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense. 51st state Hormuz. Hey, have you guys heard? You know, the taco trade is over. Wall Street is soured on the taco trade. Taco trade, Trump always chickens out. It's the idea that, if Trump makes a big market-shaking announcement, you should take the bet that it'll be reversed because Trump doesn't want to panic the markets. But now there's the nacho trade, which is not a chance Hormuz opens. And like everybody that's been buying into the taco of like, well, he's going to back down. It's like, wait a minute. No, there's just no fucking way it happens no matter what. And so oil prices are rising and bond yields are rising, even when he makes these like, we have a deal. Not to sound dumb, but why is annexation of Venezuela a bad idea? Well, first of all, the fact that Venezuelans almost assuredly don't want to become the 51st state. So it would have to be, a military annexation? So now we're fighting a war in Venezuela for conquering. But secondly, it's that you're adding 31 million people who are entirely different culture, background, fucking language, and not even contiguous to America in the middle of already divided country, and then we're gonna the why it's not a good idea seems apparently obvious. The harder thing would be to think of like how it could go right, but it's not gonna happen. It's just another Trump, I don't know, distraction or idea. Why doesn't Trump call it the Gay of Hormuz so that we could leave and then what? Iran would pull their ships. Oh, you mean Iran might not want to be considered gay. So if we call it the Gay of Hormuz, they'll get out of there quick. That's a real interesting idea. That's a real interesting idea. They're calling Squeaks the Mumbai Marlin now. That's more important. We gotta talk about that. Hey, first-time chatter and VA voter. I saw on LS if you hit the panic button if you thought the midterm election were not free and fair after the courts overturned the referendum in VA. Overturning voter rights act and various gerrymanders. May have been a free but not fair elections. Am I crazy when that happened? You're not crazy. You're a quick thing. Okay, let me just let me see if I can explain this. But I'm gonna have the exact dates in front of me, but it's important. Okay. So there's like two big Supreme Court rulings. This is why Supreme Court matters and why it's so shitty that we have such a bad Supreme Court right now. there was the Voting Rights Act. Voting Rights Act from like the 80s. Okay? And basically it says it doesn't matter what your intention is. If mathematically some minority group is being cut out with gerrymandering, like if you're drawing your lines on your map so that some group doesn't get to vote or doesn't get representation, which normally happens with like cities will cut certain lines through black neighborhoods to try and make sure they don't get a vote. That's the idea. That's the idea. Or, for example, how it feels like streamers don't get a vote in this country. Somehow they've drawn the line so that streamers don't have a majority vote, which feels really weird because we're the most important. It's like one of the worst. Anyway, so some sort of group gets oppressed by gerrymandered lines is the idea. The Voting Rights Act was a way of saying like, hey, however the fuck you justify it, if mathematically it's not adding up, then the federal courts can strike down the way you've drawn your lines. And people on the Supreme Court, including Roberts, Republicans on the Supreme Court, have supported this act in the past, like in writing. And then now that we're approaching a really important midterm where Trump is likely and Republicans are likely to lose a lot of seats, suddenly everything has changed. And so, I don't know, very recently, the Voting Rights Act was struck down basically. And they said, you can only be, your lines can only be overturned if they can prove intent. So they have to prove that you intentionally drew those lines to cut out some group from being able to vote. That's the idea. Okay? It can't just be math based. And proving intent is way, way harder. And generally, you can just say, like, nah, we didn't do it for that reason. We did it for X, Y, and Z. And, like, it's just harder to. And so, because this was struck down, all these states, basically almost every fucking state they can, even Democratic states too, are frantically rushing to redraw their lines to be more beneficial for their party. So Democratic states are redrawing their lines to be more beneficial for Democrats, so they get more seats. Republicans, same thing. But the problem is, this is just being real, many states have tried to add like bipartisan commissions and rules to stop gerrymandering. Some states have tried to do this. And the states that did this, I'm just gonna be honest with you, they're all blue. So all the states that have done this in the past to try and stop themselves from gerrymandering now face all these obstacles that don't let them gerrymander as much. Now, California did. California has just basically gerrymandered itself to add, 5 new Democratic seats. And then Utah did it to add 1. But because Republicans are doing it en masse, they've added 15 so far, if you count like Tennessee and South Carolina and so 18. So they're getting plus 12, basically. If the math works out the way they are, right now the Republicans have gerrymandered themselves 12 new seats in Republican states that are going to add more than the Democratic gerrymandering. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean Republicans sweep in the midterms or anything. It just makes it a lot harder because of the way the lines are drawn. It's kind of fucked up. And so I think the way this Voting Rights Act has been reinterpreted is pretty whack. Especially because intent, you can even say that your intent is partisan. You can say, I'm doing this for partisan reasons, because there's another Supreme Court ruling which made it so that federal courts cannot strike down state level decisions on lines if they're for partisan reasons. So you can basically say openly, we're redrawing these lines to fuck over the other party, and shit can't do about it. It's like a really frustrating set of court decisions that is leading to a lot of gerrymandering. And I'm not saying any state is really immune to this. I don't like it happening in Democratic states either. But the fact is, it's like this race to the bottom where all the states in the union that have any benefit to be gained are getting progressively more gerrymandered. And again, I'm sure you guys know what gerrymandering is, but the basic idea is like, here, I think we just need a picture. Because when you see a good gerrymander, like worst gerrymandered states, like here's a great example from fucking North Carolina, right? You draw the districts in such a way, you make these weirdly shaped districts, so you capture all of the blue voters in one, so they only get one vote. That's the idea, right? So instead of like these people being spread out and maybe winning an election here and an election here and an election here, they just get one vote captured in one. And so all the states, both blue and red, are now, a lot of them are leaning towards doing this as a gear up for these important midterm elections. And it just feels like these are ways of subverting the will of democracy, especially going into a midterms where Republicans are pretty unpopular. Like all votes that have been held recently have swung against them. So theoretically that would happen in the midterms, but if they draw the lines in the right way, it might be pretty hard. That number 4 and number 2, yeah, they're just dog shit. And this is like not even from recent. They've gotten so much worse. Why'd you say fucking North Carolina with such disdain? Because look at it. Look at the way they draw their map, bro. That's why I said fucking North Carolina with this disdain. Isn't North Carolina where, am I wrong? Is this where Mr. Beast has his there should be a Beast district. What if they drew a different one where it was all about the Beast and he gets a third party? The Beast compound. There could be some real fire there. The Beast strict. Man, you speak nonstop like YouTube, and I was thinking the videos are edited. Well, you thought the videos were edited to cut the space between words? You thought I was pausing between each word and they were cutting that down? Honestly, you're the first person to tell me that. Most people send me messages like, hey, wow, I can't believe in real life I can't watch it on 4x, 5 times speed to ingest the information so fast that I don't gain nothing from it. What are your thoughts on the big China meeting? Yeah, I'm doing that soon. I want to do it. I mean, I could just tell you that my thoughts are that Trump is going in with a worse hand than he would like. But it's a pretty important meeting. I think the consequences for Taiwan could be pretty significant. But I'm working on a prez that I'm going to do on the day of. So it's a little more. There's a few days. So I'm going with Trump. Yeah. What else did I want to say about the Voting Rights Act? So Voting Rights Act got repealed. States across the country are redrawing their lines. Republicans are plus 12. Yeah, it can backfire, though. So look. So if you're unpopular enough, look, here's a great example. Right? Let's say this is the way the vote breaks down. Let's say if you did all the voters normally, it's 60% blue, 40% red. But if you cut it this way, then blue wins 5 out of 5, which isn't really fair because 40% of the voters are red. It should be split 3-2, right? Or you could cut it this way, and then Republicans win 3 out of 2. And there's the way you slice it matters. But if you slice it like this, if you cut it so that every district has only like 49% of your opposition, so they don't get any voice, then if there's an unpopular enough president, you could have a catastrophic wipeout. Like if they try to gerrymander too much and spread all the opposition out across different districts so they don't have any voice, it can be really risky because if even a few percentage points swing against you, suddenly all these districts that used to be like diehards can wipe out. So there's a possibility this does backfire, to be honest, given how unpopular Trump is and how gas prices keep rising and yada, yada, yada. Wouldn't gerrymandering not work if people flip? Yeah, exactly. The way gerrymandering works is that there's groups of people who never flip in America. That's the truth, is that if you gerrymander right, there's just groups of people who don't flip. Mm, mm, mm. Didn't Texas redraw some of their districts based on? Yeah, exactly. There's a perfect example. Is that Texas just redrew their maps to be more pro-Republican, and they got +5 new seats, right? That should go red in this election. But a lot of the math based on that +5 seat is based on Latinos voting exactly the same way they voted in 24 elections. Will that happen? I don't know. I don't know. People in general are less happy with Trump, Latinos even more so. So are they going to vote exactly the same way as they did? That's not necessarily true. And so it's possible this gerrymandering backfires after this election. We'll see. But it's a problem going forward. Yeah, dude. Gerrymandering is a problem going forward. 100%. Every state in the union is drawing its lines to make your vote matter less. If you're not part of the majority, it's cutting you out in a way that's not good. It's not good. Of course I don't agree with it. I'm just saying why it might not go. Maybe if another Trump song comes out. You're right. If they have a sequel to I Will Vote for Donald Trump, then perhaps they'll flip it back. This is so random. Obviously, you're a proud Democrat. Do you believe Kamala would have been a good president, not compared to Trump currently? No. What the fuck are you talking about? What about what I said made me a proud Democrat? First of all, you haven't listened to a word I said. Second of all, compared to Trump, Kamala would be 100 times better compared to what he's done in the past year. It's one of the worst 1 years of president in history. Would she be a good president in the grand scheme of things? Probably not. No. But it doesn't matter. Like, of course I voted for her. Of course. I'm not kidding that a corpse would have been a better president than Donald Trump. I'm not kidding. Right now, in the past year, had someone done nothing, literally nothing, like showed up to the office and not done anything, we'd be in a better spot. Joe Biden, if he had said, you know what, I'm going to sit this one out, this term out. I'm president, but I'm not going to do anything. It would have been a better. How can you prevent gerrymandering? What you really need to do is we gotta. I mean, it's just hard because you have to win. It's like you have to win power at a local level, a state level, a state Supreme Court level, a national Supreme Court level, and then you have to voluntarily give up that power. You have to voluntarily make it harder for you to win again. It's like it takes real sacrifice, and only a few states have even done it. And again, like I said, they're all blue. So, but yeah, you could theoretically get the power and then vote in new rules that make it so no matter who wins, they can't gerrymander. You can make it so that an independent review board an independent bipartisan review board sets the fucking lines or whatever. It's possible to do these things. It's just hard. And it's against incentives. Do you think if the Dems win the midterms, they'll do a federal ban on gerrymandering? It's just a federal ban on gerrymandering. The way our system works, it's like, it's very hard to not end up in legal fights with states on every level. A federal ban on gerrymandering would probably just get blocked in state courts, even if they did it, which I don't think they would. But I wouldn't say you're correct on anything else. Inflation report. I want to talk about that. Wait. Okay. Here's the deal. Here's the tea. Here's the tea, sisters. Okay. I responded to this today because I thought it was so fucking quaint. I thought it was so cute. You guys, this may even shock you to believe, but back in the before times of 2019, our central bank used to say that one of our biggest problems is we don't have enough inflation. This is a real relic from April 3rd, 2019, where Jerome Powell said low inflation is one of the major challenges of our time. Because back in those days, the long-term goal was 2% inflation, and they were at like 1.6 or something. They were below. Like, let's say this is the 2% line. Okay? We were technically underneath it. I'll use this to describe the reality. Or maybe we'll just use like a blue. There we go. It's like this. Okay, this is where we were. And then COVID happened, and we went way, way above it. This doesn't really accurately reflect how high above we got. We got to 10+%. Okay? So we got really, 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 really high on inflation. And then, it's brought down. We've talked about the problems with the methodology system, but overall, full CPI, it's brought down. And it got down to as low as like 2-point-something%. But with the inflation report today, what we're seeing is that it's just going back up. We're like 3.8 in the most recent one from today. And if you know about how the central bank 2% inflation thing works, it's that it's a long-term average. So if you are above it for a long time, you need to be below it for a long time to average out to 2%. But that's not what they're doing. They're talking about maybe in the best case scenario, getting it down to 2% and sticking there, but we're not even close to that. And so what we're actually seeing is that it's going back up. And that's what today's report was about. I think the worst part of today's report with this big headline new number, it's not 3.8 actually. Let me make sure I got the exact number. Inflation report from today. Let me get it correctly because I don't want to inflation report. It is 3.8. I'm a genius. Never mind. I'm sorry. It is 3.8. And that's a pretty big spike, as you'll see here. Wrong direction. And what's horrible about this spike is, even though we never got back down to 2%, the thing that was holding it down and keeping it from getting too bad, guess what? Was fucking gas prices. It was like the one low inflation thing, the one where the price was actually going down. So it was like anchoring this from getting too bad. But now that that's gone, we're seeing it just go. It's like a beach ball held under the water, dude. It's like without that underpinning inflation, because again, gas prices are not just like what you pay for gas, but it keeps like travel prices low for trucks. It keeps like plastics prices low. Like low gas prices, low barrel oil prices, like keeps prices from getting too crazy all over the economy. But now they're all spiking, like, and this is like from April. It's only going to be higher for May. And so, I mean, it's a pretty spooky sign, this resurgence of inflation. And it does mean that the new guy in the Federal Reserve, Kevin Warsh, seen here, who's going to be in office for the likely next Fed meeting, Kevin Warsh, who has promised Trump, hey, man, I'm going to cut interest rates, don't worry, is kind of fucking stuck. Like, if you try to cut rates into like 4% inflation, it's going to rip your face off. It's going to go to fucking 12. Like, you don't have, like, you really need to be raising them. So I don't know. He's kind of like stuck. I wonder what Trump will do. Is he going to call him an idiot on day one if he raises rates? Is he going to say he's fucking dumbass, too late Warsh who never should have been appointed? It's going to be a weird situation. Or this guy's such a Trump toady that he does cut, and then we truly get like 2021 level inflation. Like the inflation report's pretty spooky because obviously, the job market's not doing well. But if inflation starts to get really bad, then you have honest to God stagflation, which is like, nothing makes people angrier in the whole world. It was kind of like half stagflation where the job market was getting weak and inflation wasn't that good, but it was still around a little bit above 2. But if it's going up, that's, then we're in a really bad spot. What's this?
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that matters.
Well, that's a tough quote. That's a tough quote. Turn the engine off? Turn it up, bro. I don't think about Americans' financial situation at all. Is a tough one. That's a tough one. I do think, the Hormuz update is that, I mean, the negotiations are just not getting anywhere. I think actually, the only interesting thing to come out of the recent Iran news is that the UAE turns out did strike Iran back in April. That it's actually a 4-person war, I guess. Israel, America, Iran, and UAE. Wasn't it Saudis? They might have too, but UAE was the big strikes. Why don't the UAE like Iran? Well, they did get shot with missiles by Iran, which is a part of it. But it's interesting because the UAE leaving OPEC and striking Iran, thus contributing to the war effort, is interesting. Were the Strait of Hormuz not a albatross around Trump's neck, this could have been a beneficial breakaway from OPEC. Watch the new Hoser video for context. Suspect that based on what, Star Destro? What? This is based on what? You're pretty confident that UAE is going to rejoin OPEC immediately after fucking Hormuz because of what? By the way, if you're a cartel and one of your members can leave whenever they want to take advantage of higher prices and make a fuck ton of money at your expense and then rejoin after it's over to take advantage of the cartel beneficiation, then you're not a very good cartel. Then everybody's incentivized to leave whenever they want. Is OPEC a cartel? Yeah, it's a fucking classic cartel. Fair weather cartel. Isn't OPEC kind of good for America because we export so much oil and they keep the prices high? It's good for American oil exporters like Chevron and Exxon. I guess, maybe? No, we want oil prices to be low. The vast majority of Americans consume oil. They don't produce and sell it. So OPEC is not good. No, OPEC is a group of countries voluntarily cutting their exports to try and keep prices high so they can make more money. You're supposed to consume it. I've been putting it in my car.